Hi everybody, it's Carla here with Curly Cues, and today I am filming the demo video for the cowl that we're going to make out of our corespun yarn. If you've been following my demos in the Wool and Fiber Arts group or on my page, you'll see videos of how I've been doing the corespinning and plying it. And then, you know, folks always ask, well, what do you do with this kind of yarn? And so I thought I would just show you a super quick project that you can make. This corespun yarn was from a 4-ounce braid of merino bamboo, and it was spun and then plied with some rayon thread. I've got about 20 yards here. So I've got 20 yards of the yarn. I've got a super big hook, plastic crochet hook. It's a size 20. So it's big. You can see it's huge. It's bigger than my thumb. And so this should be enough yarn to crochet a cowl that you can wear. Or it makes a really fast, super fast gift also, if you needed to make a gift up real quick for someone. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tilt the camera down onto my hands, and so you can see, and then we'll get started. So hold on, it's usually a little rickety here as I turn this down. And we'll get this here. I think that's about right. There we are. That's about perfect. Okay, I'll edit that. Okay, so when I do my crochet, or when I do my corespun yarn, I always start out and then just spin a nice single, just a thin single, and that way I don't have a risk of some of this corespun coming untwisted. So I don't want to start with this project. I don't want to start with this because I want the foundation to be made out of the same size yarn as what these stitches are going to be. So I'll just be working with this long tail. I think I'll use this to stitch it back up. So what I'm going to do is, there's two ways that I do this when I make these. What I can do also is I'll crochet 20 long stitches, or 20 base crochet stitches, and then I'll join it, and then you can crochet in the round. And so you can do that and just crochet into the round. It's a nice way to do it because then you can keep going until you run out of yarn. You'll know exactly where you're at. But for the sake of demonstrating purposes, what I'm going to do, which is super easy as well, is to just work a panel. So I'm gonna have my foundation chain stitches, and then I'm going to work a panel back and forth, and then I'll put it together and stitch it up. So that's what we're going to do. So I want to start with my little starting chain here. So like I said, I want to use the yarn that is going to be the width of my yarn that I'm actually working with. If I was using this, I would have to make sure that I did that foundation really super loose because I want to make sure that it'll fit. So what you do is start out with your crochet stitches. I think I am only going to do 4 of them. Okay, and 4 doesn't sound like much, but that would be the width of your cowl, which basically is like, you know, between 5 and 6 inches long. So that's a good amount. So I've done 4. And instead of just doing 1 chain to work up for the next row, I'm going to do 2 because I want to have some length on here, and I want to have it kind of loose. So what I'm going to do is not work into the same stitch there, but I chain 2, and then I'm going to go into the next stitch and then just do a long or a tall single crochet. And I call it that because, let's not get this twisted. You want, as far as your tension, you don't want to have a lot of tension. You want to crochet this loose. That's usually the first row is the hardest, just to get a good base. And then this should be our last stitch for that row. Pull that snug, and there we go. So that is going to be the width. It's going to fit like this. So there's my head. It's gonna fit like that. That'll be the width of it. So that's, looks like a good length. So at your end, you're going to crochet 2, turn your work, and then we are just going to crochet over into the next chain. So we're doing single crochets, but we're pulling it through so it's kind of a longer single crochet. And the reason we do this is because the yarn is so bulky that we don't want to have it too tight, but we want to be able to see the fluffiness of the yarn. We don't want to lose that, because that we worked hard to get this corespun. So we don't want to do it super tight so you can't see it. Now, a lot of times it's going to be hard to be able to see your stitches, so you might have to just kind of get your fingers in there and feel for it. So, and then pull that through. So there we go. So at the end, we'll chain 2 and then flip it. And just keep working in your single crochets. Pull it through both loops. You've got that one and that one. Use your finger if you have to, if your hook's not cooperating or if it feels like it's a little snug. Get through there and do it. Like I said, it might end up being to where you just have to kind of visually look to find out where that hook is going to go. So at the end, you crochet 2, turn your work, and just keep working those single crochets. Usually that first one. Because see, that first one kind of loops over. You got your 2 stitches here. That makes a nice long one there on the end. And then get your last one here. So it is a nice quiet day here in Oregon today. I did my demo on plying and then took care of the puppies, and it's basically just been raining for most of the day, which is something we haven't had. I know a lot of other parts in the country have had a lot of rain, but we haven't had a lot of rain, so it's kind of nice to have a rainy day. Makes me want to just stay in and do creative things. So just keep working those at your end. Crochet 2, turn it. So the yardage should work out. We should have just enough to do a cowl. And pull and stretch on it. Make sure you're doing the right amount of stitches. With this, it's easy because we're only doing basically 4 across. But if you were doing something that was larger, say if it was a, if you wanted to crochet like a pillow front, you could do that with this, but you'd want to probably maybe use a stitch marker if you want, or just count your stitches. It's not too hard to keep count of them with the big yarn like this. And if you don't have any corespun and you want to just make this out of a chunky yarn, you could do that. I mean, it's just a real basic repeat pattern back and forth. You can do this out of any yarn to make a cowl if you wanted. Of course, you'd have to use, if you're using a smaller yarn, you'd have to do more than 4 stitches, of course. But you would just kind of work with it and see where it is. But yeah, sometimes you have to be a little, work with it a little bit, pull that through the loop if you have to make it stretch, or to make it get through where it's supposed to go. We're more than halfway through now. Let's see. And we should have enough yarn, so we're going to flip it. So crochet is forgiving anyways, but especially when you're working with a big yarn like this, it has so much texture, you're not going to be able to see if you make any errors or if you don't get it directly into the stitch that it's supposed to go into. It's okay. There's so much texture in here. I'm going to put that down there and work. So this is what we've got so far. It's got some good stretch to it. A little bigger over here, but that's because we've got these bigger, chunkier pieces of yarn. Both sides are basically the same. Sorry, I've got a little bit of, I'm seeing a hair on there now and then from my dog, because even though they're not supposed to go in certain areas, they do. And he's actually just right on the floor here with me now. So doesn't take much, probably just came off of my shirt. So get to our end, do 2 stitches, and then turn. So when I say fast, this is fast. This is probably, I don't know any other gift that you could crochet up that would have the look, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, how long did it take you to make that? Well, if you count in the, did I do 2? That looks long enough. Count in the length of time to spin the yarn, then it did take a while. But as far as you going, oh, I'm just going to grab this skein of yarn right off of my shelf here because I got to whip up a gift real quick. I mean, I don't know that anything beats it. You know, I don't think I did 2 stitches there. That's okay. This is how I'm going to show you that how forgiving crochet is. I don't think we're going to be able to tell. Now we'll do the 2. I think what happened was I may have turned it before I had done that. So, all right, we're getting down to the end of it. I don't have much yarn left. I hope I have enough to finish this row. And so I basically have enough yarn to finish up that row, and that's all I have left. So I'm gonna have to have some stretch on that. And you know what? I think that's gonna be a perfect fit over my neck. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I might just go back 1 more row if I can, just to give it a little bit more length. I'm going to end up working on some of the single here that I've got. And that's probably it. I'm going to tie it off right there. Okay. So I'm going to put these 2 pieces together now. And I've got this really long piece to sew it. So let's just leave this here. I should have grabbed my scissors so I can tie that. So you can either sew this together with a needle, if you have a big needle. You could also just use your crochet hook to work it through, but I think I'm just going to use my hands here. So I'm going to join the 2 kind of in a, using kind of a mattress stitch, sort of, but not necessarily. Going to be going in and out and working back and forth. So you may not, you know, probably not be able to see where I have done that, where I've attached it. Now I'm going to tie these here. I'm going to leave a little bit of stretch, but see how where that's joining? Go back through here. Oh, I lost part of it. Okay. And through here. Under. And then under. And then through the top. And then under. Okay, and I'm going to go back under there. So now that I've tied it off, let's hope that it does actually slip over my neck. But I'm going to go back down and give it just a little extra reinforcement. But see, we've also got our core thread in there, and this is a strong yarn, a merino yarn that I used. So I know that it's going to hold. I'm not going to be able to stretch it and break it. But let's just keep going. And so we're just kind of working that in. I think I'm going to take these two, work them both through. So I'm sorry, I don't know if you can see very clearly what I'm doing, is I basically just want to hide these. I'm going to just bring it down on the bottom. So, okay. So there you go. So technically you can't exactly, that's where I stitched it. So you can see a little bit that that's where it was done. But if you look around, not a big noticeable difference in where it's at. And I can tell by the feel of this that I think it's going to fit over my head. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Oh, I think it's perfect. Okay, hold on here. So let's, I can't see myself, so I don't know what it looks like, but let's turn this up. And there we go. So that is nice and bulky. Hold on. There we go. So yeah, that's nice and bulky and warm. Wouldn't that be cute under a jacket on a cold day?